beautiful beings of light. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeanette and I am a high vibrational being and I'm back. I don't think I'm going to do a collective reading at this time. I think I'm guided more to give you information regarding our world, races that has been here in the past. I was doing a lot of research this weekend, a lot of reading, and I'm guided to read some of the stuff that I read. But first, I'm going to start by saying, hope everybody enjoyed their weekend or is enjoying their weekend. Oh, it's February 18th. It's my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Chris. I love you. Happy birthday, Mom. Your birthday was yesterday. I love you. And I know you guys are celebrating together. And it's my niece's birthday was yesterday as well. Happy birthday to all the Aquarius. And it's also, I have to say, 4 years since my spiritual awakening. So it's the birthday of when I received the Holy Spirit within my being, which I never went back, never turned back, continued my journey. So 4 years that I seen the Holy Spirit, and I'm very thankful, very, very thankful for the blessings, the lessons that I've learned. So along with my brother, my mother, their birthdays, and the day that I received the Holy Spirit within my own being, I am so much grateful for all the blessings. And I am celebrating life, celebrating the love, celebrating my rebirth, renewing, coming out of this darkness and into the light. And I'm very, very thankful for all that I have learned during these 4 years that I have awakened. I'm very thankful. And the blessings, knowing that my brother and my mom is not here, that they passed away my mother's birthday is February 17th, 1944 was the day that she was born. And my brother was born the day after, February 18th, which is today. And he's also in heaven. He's very much missed, but always, I'm always in contact with my spiritual team, my past time loved ones. They're always with me, so they're never gone. They're just, their vessels is not here, but their spirits always will be alive, and I'm very thankful. Happy birthday to you guys in heaven. Happy birthday. Enjoy. I didn't buy no cake. I'm sorry, I didn't buy no cake. But I love you guys. So I am going to start with my father, who led me once again to a scripture in the Bible. And I hope this is not a reading, so I'm not gonna do an oracle card, no readings like that. I'm really going to do more of who we who were the races that was here before, how the dark went into the light went into the dark, how man went from light to darkness. So it's more of an educational type of channeling today versus um, giving you the details of the crimes that are being committed at this time. This all boils down, this is all has to do with everything that is going on in the world today has been a repeat of past life, biblical, the downfall of man is coming back in full circles. We're just in different vessels. That's it. Different vessels. Some of us are awakened, some of us are sleeping. So, but everything what goes around comes back around. It's a new cycle that's being a new world that is being created. Just like the Atlanteans, um, their era had to fall. Then they had a new beginning. So in our times where we at now, it's the Iron Age. They're falling. They're falling, and then we're coming into the age of Aquarius. So yeah, no card reading today. So I mean, not in this session. I may come back and do a collective reading after this, depending, because last time I stood here for like almost 3 hours. I didn't even know I was on on this channel for like 3 hours. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to my channel if this message does resonate with you. I am My name is Jeanette. I am a high vibrational being, and I'm here as a reincarnated soul, royalty, blood, to awaken the collective, and also to heal myself in the process, and share my gifts with you guys. And it's always for the highest good of all. And here in Peter 22, my cash app is $BELIEVE201. And I am so happy. I am ecstatic. I am full of hopes for everyone. I am full of energy. And like every time I turn on the light on my wall, it's like I always get static. Static is energy. It's been happening. I'm like, every time I want to turn, it's so funny. I'm like, I get shocked a lot. So that's because you're vibrating. The energy is very high. So for if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. This is Peter 4, and it's a long 4 to number 27. Darkness to be kept until the judgment. If he did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, a herald of righteousness, with 7 others, when he brought flood upon the world of the ungodly. This is what we're going through. A lot of ungodly things have been done. A lot of ungodly things has been happening. If by turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes, he condemned them to extinction, many making them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly. Be very, very careful of the things that you do. Make sure you're walking in the path of God and not of the ungodly. And if he rescued righteous, Lot greatly distressed by the sensual conduct of the wicked. Somebody's being exposed at this time. Just got an alert. Distressed by sensual conduct of the wicked, for as the righteous man lived among them day after day, and he was tormenting his righteous soul over their lawless deeds that he saw and heard. Then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from trials and to keep the uprighteous under punishment unto the day of judgment. There's a lot of people who are going to be exposed for so many crimes that they have committed, so much injustice that they have committed, so much sin, so much things that they have done under the roof and under the power of their church ministries, and especially those who indulge in the lust of defiling passion and despise authority, that don't want to abide by the law, that was given positions to help people, not enslave them. Bold and willful, they did not tremble as they blaspheme the glorious one, whereas angels, though the greater in the might and power, do not pronounce a blasphemous judgment against them before the Lord. But these, like irrational animals, creatures of instinct, born to be caught and destroyed, blaspheming about matters of which they are ignorant. They chose to turn their face away from God. They are better than God. They feel like they are invincible, that nothing could hurt them no matter what. As much money and power that they have, they felt that they are more powerful than the divine. But their destruction, their God is right now is placing judgment on each and every one of us. Will also be destroyed in their destruction. They destroyed themselves. They caused every injustice on themselves. Suffering wrongs as the wage of their wrongdoing. They counted pleasure to reveal in the daytime. They are blots and blemishes, revealing in their deceptions. Why they feast with you. They have eyes full of adultery, instabled for sin. They entice unsteady souls. They captured the souls of those who are in darkness. Be careful. These entities are entering your vessels if you are not of the light. They have hearts trained in greed, accursed children, forsaken the right way, They have gone astray. They have followed the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved gains from wrongdoing, but was rebuked for his own transgressions. A speechless donkey spoke with human voice and restrained the prophet madness. These are waterless spirits. They are not emotional. They're very soulless beings. These are the fallen angels. These are the angels of darkness. These are the waterless springs and mist driven by a storm. For them, the gloom of utter darkness has been reserved. For speaking loud, boast of folly, they entice by sensual passions of the flesh. They are more into the material. They're more about their luxury, their homes, their money, their women, their drugs. This is what they boast about, but they don't boast about God that gave them all this. Who are barely escaping from those who live in error. They promise them freedom, but they themselves are slaves of corruption. They are slaves of corruption. They have trapped themselves in their own demise. For whatever comes a person to that he is enslaved. For it, after they have escaped the defilements of the world through the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are given entangled in them and overcome. The last state has become worse for them than the first. We have to go. We have to go through this darkness to shed, to learn not to commit the same sins, maybe even the same, whatever crimes, mistakes. Go back to God. Free yourselves. We have to free ourselves. Nobody can free you but yourself. What the true proverb says has happened to them. The dog returned to its own vomit, and the soul for washing herself returns to wallow in the mire. So that's what Spirit wanted me to read to you, the collective. You take it as whatever, however you want to interpret, okay? You don't need to follow my lead. Follow the beat of your own drum. I am not imposing anything on anyone. You don't have to listen to my channel. You don't have to be here. But there's something that I would like. Be very respectful. Be very respectful of people that are sharing their knowledge, that are sharing their wisdom. And it's only for the purpose to awaken you. If you're triggered by this, then there's something that you need to look within your own heart. Okay? Stop making judgments on other people. You have no authority. You have no authority over anybody. Only God. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Because this is not the place for it. I am going to read from this book that I have been reading. And it talks about the fall of the great Babylon. In the biblical allegory, Babylon and tries to take a place of the condemned city of Atlantis. The memory of past catalysms turned into a prophecy, and the motions of for the future. Thus, in the book of the Revelations, an angel invites the prophet to witness the fate of the great Babylon, the great harlot, who sits upon many waters. The city had 7 heads, being the hills, islands on which she sat, and 10 horns, being her 10 kings who dominate all the king of the earth. It was the capital of a great maritime empire, which all who had ships in the sea were made prosperous. Among its riches were gold and silver and precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple silks, and scarlets, as well as every kind of fragrant wood, and all the fine workmanships of ivory, all the beautiful things made of costly wood, of brass, iron, and marble. In other terms, all the same products of which Plato's Atlantis was said to be equally rich before its fall. Just as the Plato's Atlantis, moreover, her inequity rose to heaven, where God knew her sins. Therefore, he said, her plagues shall come in a single day. The agents of destruction of Atlantis, Babylon, according to the Revelations, was a star from heaven, a great fiery dragon, which fell into the ocean, all aflame like a great lamp. Its tail obscured a third part of the stars, which began to fall towards earth, causing all the mountains and islands to be jolted from their proper places. After this, we read, the great city fell into 3 parts of the cities of the other nations collapsed. All the islands vanished, and their mountains were gone. These are stories that happened. Atlantis was very, very big, very beautiful, very prosperous. There were different people who lived on this planet, different energies that walked this earth, our ancestors, very loving, very powerful, superhuman energies that they don't want you to know who we truly are. They don't want you to know your DNA. They don't want you to know that by waking up, you heal yourself and you heal Mother Gaia. The parallels between the fall of the great Babylon in the book of the Revelations and Plato Atlantis are even too obvious. As a man conversant in Greek, the author of the Revelations will have certainly known Plato's work. There is, however, also a more obvious Old Testament parallel for this account. A lot of the books, a lot of our ancestors, they left a lot of secrets behind, and a lot has been stolen, a lot has been burnt, a lot has been hidden by many churches, leaders that don't want you to know. But that's going to be over very soon. The book of Ezekiel, which dates to the time of Babylonian captivity, 593 to 571 BCE, contains, in fact, a very similar prophecy of the fall of the Phoenician city of Tyre. Out in the sea, you will become a place to spread fish nets. You were a power on the seas. Now the coastland trembles on the day of your fall. The islands in your seas are terrified at your collapse. The fate of Tyre, says the book of Ezekiel, will be that of the people of long ago, whom God has cast down to the pit in the earth below. In the same way, God will make Tyre a desolate city, like cities no longer inhabited, and will bring the ocean depths and its vast waters over it, so that Tyre will no more. It will be sought, but never be found again. Its doom shall come from the midst of the stones of fire. Tyre and Atlantis are both described as fabulous, wealthy cities, the seats of great maritime powers in the hearts of the seas. Like Atlantis, Tyre was said to have corrupted its wisdom by reason of its splendor. According to Ezekiel, the kings of Tyre had become violent and corrupt on account of their wealth, just like is going on here on this time, on this age. And in their arrogance, they thought of themselves equal to God. I am God, says the king of Tyre in Ezekiel 28:2. I sit on the throne of a God in the heart of the seas, but you are mere mortals and not of God, though you think you are as wise as a God. Tyre, Atlantis, a city that was once hailed as the seal of protection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, and the holy mount of God, and thus hurled down in the flames to the bottom of the ocean, never to arise again for all eternity. This is the occult of the saint in Atlantis. With all the falls of Atlantis perished, also much of the Atlantean science and technology. Even more would be lost in the ages of decadence that followed. It was this time, as a consequence of the fall, that a mechanical technology took the place of the original sacred science, a transition that progressed in the parallel with the increasing solidification and materialization of the world. This world was one time all light. It was no darkness. There was just sun. There was no darkness. Esoteric literature contains numerous references to wonder the Atlantean technology, including various sophisticated forms of aerial and submarine transportation. There's a lot of things that you guys have no idea of the technology that was available at one time, which was very advanced. Unknown metals and alloys, the use of crystals as a power source, crystals as a power source, and even a nuclear energy employed from both military and civilian application. Very powerful energy. Yet Atlantis is also remembered as the cradle of all that we have called occult and esoteric knowledge, largely on account of the Atlanteans' mastery of the so-called life force. The Atlanteans were, according to the Austrian occultist Rudolf Steiner, the first to discover how to convert the life force into power applicable to the technical purposes by which so many of the apparent miracles attributed to Atlantean science were accomplished. It was Steiner wrote, a power immanent of all living things. These crystals, if you don't know how to work them, they're very powerful. A power immanent of all living things, which manifests itself through the process of germination and growth. This life force was also known throughout antiquity as prana and mana. You know what's prana? You know, if you meditate, you know what's prana. And in the more recent scientific terminology, as the origin etheric or adic force, occultists in the 19th and 20th century knew it as viral, V-R-I-L, meaning the universal principle of vital energy, life force, or vital magnetism, as an intermediate emanations of the universal consciousness, prana, consciousness, pure light, pure energy. It stood between the pure mind and matter, light and dark, permeating as such all forms of physical manifestation as well as thoughts. What you think is going to manifest. What you're putting into your mind is manifesting. If you put dark matter into your mind, it's manifesting in your life. Be very careful. It was, in other terms, the living generator of the experiential universe, a generative energy which projects experiential space and matter. Space and matter. When you breathe in good energy, you breathe out negative energy. When you release something out of your energy to bring in good, you are making space for good energy to come into your life. Get rid of the dark matter. It doesn't serve you. It represents, moreover, the unity and source of all natural energetic agencies, including those magnetisms, electricity, and gravitation. Control over the light force of viral would have granted the Atlanteans almost superhuman powers and the entire world of manifestation and other spiritual realities. You have no idea who you are. By the agency, but they know it. The government knows who you are. That's why they control. That's why they controlled people. They like to enslave you because they don't want you to receive. They don't want you to open up to that prana. They don't want you to connect to that energy. By the agency of Vero, the Atlanteans were able to control the weather, manipulate matter, reverse gravity, and even affect the flow of time. If you know how to work with energy, you think you're running late, you're able to manipulate that time. You need to know who you are. It also provided a unlimited energy of powering up all kinds of mechanical appliances, telekinesis abilities. On one of the great Atlanteans' inventions that left the deepest impressions in the occult writers of the 19th century and early 20th century was the airship of Alex. Unlike our modern airplanes, those Atlantean airships did not rely on aerodynamic forces. They don't use whatever they're using, these chemicals in their airplanes, they don't use that. For lift and proper propulsion, but on the secret forces of magnetism and gravitation. Several mediums have left vivid descriptions of similarity powered Atlantean airships, which bear in some cases an uncanny resemblance to modern UFOs. Hello. And other authors such as Edgar Cayce, I love Edgar Cayce, study Edgar Cayce, very prophetic dreamer, dreamed so much. He had somebody write and very psychic. Further referred to the Atlanteans' use of the atomic energy and of crystals to draw energy directly from the earth core and from the sun. There are more over hints that it was this sort of semi-scientific interference with the balance of nature and the use of the life force for purposes of military domination that eventually led Atlantis to its downfall. The fall of man. The esoteric tradition considers the fall to have been a direct consequence of the spiritual and material decadence. Spiritual, I'm spiritual. Material is the dark. They rely on dark matter. They rely on material, earthly goods. They don't have a spiritual connection with the Most High. And material decadence of the early Atlanteans, but it is divided as to whether this was truly a divine punishment or the inevitable consequence of the cyclical law. From a spiritual point of view, the fall could be equated with a loss of divinity, a fall into matter, the materialism. From a cosmological point of view, it has also marked the transition from the golden age, golden, very pure, very light, very goddess energy, not matter. God energy. That's the golden age. Krita Yoga to the Silver Age to the Treta Yoga. In accordance with the doctrine of the cycles, the dates of the two Atlantean catalysms of 35,335 BCE and 10,961 BCE coincides with remarkable exactitude with the last two negative inflection points of the 25,925 year-long progressional cycle. The esoteric Tradition maintains that it was through the fall that eternal time gave way to the cyclical time. We are told that prior to the fall, the earth spun vertically on its axis, as a consequence of which there existed no season. No season. There was no summer, no winter, no fall, no seasons of summer or winter. But the entire planet enjoyed an eternal spring, a perpetual equinox. The sun, moreover, never set at the poles, but was always visible a few degrees above the horizon. The precession were merely a consequence of a whole wobble in the Earth's axis of rotation, changing its orientation with respect to the ecliptic North Pole over a period of 25,920 years. There obviously would be no precision with a perfectly vertical axis. However, if a companion star of our sun were responsible, as suggested by Walter Cruttenden, binary stars hypnosis, then precisions would still be observed, even with an upright axis. Only the Earth's poles will remain immune from the effect of precision, a true imperishable sacred land, constantly evolving around a fixed point in heaven, over which the sun would never set. With the fall, not only did the golden age come to an end, but the very polar seat, which had so far regained immune from the effects of the precision, was similarly plugged into the cyclical flow of time. Black magic. Black magic. Among those who considered the fall a consequence of the Atlanteans, this is what we are experiencing at this time. Atlanteans' own spiritual and material decadence. Plato attributed to the prevalence of the human element over the divine. Similarly, Blavatsky, it was sorcery that led Atlantis to its downfall. But right now, the sorcery that is happening on the collective at this time, it will not be the spiritual downfall for God's children. It's in reverse. The Atlanteans became thus the first sacrificers to the god of matter, worshiping their bodies and their own creations. We should be worshiping God, nothing else. Self-arrogance, the attainment of wealth and authority, became the sole purpose of their earthly existence. They ceased to use their faculties and powers in accordance with the laws made by their divine rulers. Wrote Scott Elliott, as a consequence of which their connections with the occult hierarchy was broken. To this author, the cause of the fall of Atlantis was the evil doing of its people, which is happening at the evil doing of its people, which they're doing it to themselves now, who blasphemed the gods and practiced the dark sciences. Similarly, according to the author of esoteric scholar J.S. Gordon, it was sorcery that led to Atlantis' downfall through some sort of semi-scientific interference in the balance of nature. And this is what they're trying to do at this time. But it's not going to work. These dark forces that are trying to do so much to hurt the planet, the food, the water, poison people, they cannot do it to God's children. Magic itself was practiced on Atlantis, wrote occultist Helena Blavatsky, in which ungodly ways that it was since become necessary for the subsequent race to draw a thick veil over the practices which were used to obtain so-called magic effects on the psychic and on the physical planes. This is what they did. We were all under a spell. We're waking up from this. It was only at the time of the fourth Turanian subraces that decadence truly set in. The two opposed camps emerged, which Kansi called the children of the law of one, who motivated exclusively by material thoughts and desires, rose in rebellion and drove the white emperor from his capital, the city of the Golden Gates. They were a race. Scott Elliott continues, addicted to black craft. There's a lot of people that are addicted to black craft at this time here. And those are your leaders. Your leaders. Until it accumulated in the inevitable catastrophe, which to a great extent purified the earth of the monstrous evil. Those who work in darkness are evil. Those who work with dark matter are evil. Those who don't enlighten the collective are evil. Those who they have not cleansed their energy. The wars of the gods. Theosophical tradition describes the great war that took place at the close of the fourth race between the initiates of the sacred island and sons of Baal. According to Blavatsky, this war was itself a prelude to the great struggle between the Aryan adepts of the Naset's fifth race and the sorcerers of Atlantis, the demons of the deep. There are demons in the waters, there's angels in the waters, there's spirits all over this world. The islanders surrounded with waters who disappeared in the Dilog. This is the flood. In Hindu mythology, we find similar descriptions of the eternal battle between the gods, Devas, and the Asuras. Both races were said to be equal in power and strength, possessors of great spiritual, scientific, and technological ability. The Devas, on the one hand, were committed to the worship of the Supreme Being and the practice of virtue, whereas the Asuras incarnated all the most devious and materialistic tendencies of their race. This distinction between the Devas and the Asuras did not exist from the beginning. It was only after the fall that, according to the Theosophy, the divine names of the Asuras, the Rakshasas, I don't know, and the Deyatas were brought down into disrepute and passed on the prosperity as the names of fiends. In a similar way, in the biblical story of the fallen angels, Lucifer was said to be the most splendid of all created beings from beings before he rebelled against God. Echoes of this may be found also in Greek mythology, in the war of the gods of the Titan, as well the eternal struggle between Aesir and the Vanir of the Norse mythology, Norse. According to Edgar Casey, the son of Baal broke every linkage with the occult hierarchy and cast the remaining children of the Law of One into exile, thus triggering the first Atlanteans' exodus to other lands. Technology was used by the son of Baal in increasingly destructive ways, which yet in motion the fires of the inner portion of the earth, eventually resulting in the breakup of the Atlantean islands. Then, wrote Scott Elliott, came the awful retribution when millions upon millions perished. The great city of the Golden Gates had by this time become a perfect den of inequity. The waves swept it over and destroyed the inhabitants, and the Black Emperor and his dynasty fell to rise no more. The white magicians, the children of the Law of One, warned of this impending catalysm, took refuge in hidden locations in the east, carrying with them the last relic of the Atlantean civilization, which were thus spared from the general destruction. Two spiritual centers emerged over the course of the following age, one in the present Gobi Desert, and the other one was left at the Atlantean continent after the first great catastrophe. What else? This was the first Atlantean. There's several ages of Atlantis. You have the second, you have the third, until the whole flood, until they flooded the whole, it was so big, Atlantis. So big. The War of the Gods. I want to talk to you about the blood, the Rh bloods, the Rh positive. These were, I'm going to start from a possibility Related issue concerns the greater diffusion of the Rh negative blood type among many of the same population that also inhibits a higher frequency of haplogroup X in their mtDNA. As it turns out, most humans living today have in common with primates the RHD antigens, which is found in about 85% of modern European and estimated 15% of the European population, however, does not possess an antigen. If all mankind had evolved from the same astral ancestral line, their blood would be necessarily compatible. However, so strong is the incompatibility between Rh positive and Rh negative blood types that a mother who is Rh negative may develop an adverse immune reaction to an Rh positive baby, which could turn out to be fatal for the baby. It follows that either a foreign genetic stream crossed the hominin lines at some point of the course of human evolution, or a genetic mutation was responsible for the appearance of the Rh negative type. If the latter were true, however, the Rh negative blood type itself, a recessive trait, should have naturally disappeared through the genetic admixture with population carrying a high frequency of the RHD antigens. That is, unless the original pool of Rh negative individuals was sufficiently large, relatively homogeneous, and genetically isolated. This alone would seemingly exclude the possibility of a fortuitous mutation. The Rh negative blood is comparatively more frequent among populations of Western Europe descendants, infrequent in Africa and West Asia, and virtually absent from East Asia and Oceania. Oceania. Only the Basques of the North Spain exhibit among all human population a frequency of the Rh negative blood type greater than 50%. Other populations with high frequency of the Rh negative blood type include the Ait Hadidu, Berbers of Morocco, and the indigenous Guanche inhabitant of the Canary Islands, again suggesting an Atlantic route of diffusions for this peculiar blood type, contemporaneous with the Cro-Magnon invasions. While other clues does early human DNA reveal about the traits and physical characteristics of early Atlanteans, the Cro-Magnon race, which according to the hypothesis was at least 50% Atlantean, was robustly and powerfully built, particularly well suited for the kind of heavy duty that the genetically engineered Liliths were meant to accomplish in the service of the gods. It was a highly intelligent race with a brain capacity with the excess of that of a modern human. It was notably taller than other contemporary human species, with the average individual standing at over 182 centimeters, 6 feet tall. Interestingly, DNA sequencing of Cro-Magnon population from the last ice age shows that these early Europeans had a darker skin tone with a high frequency of blue and light color eyes. Lighter skin tone typically of modern European population may not have appeared until about 12 to 6,000 years ago, perhaps due to a genetic mutation. The evidence pointing to darker skin complexion of early Europeans is particularly interesting in the light of the long-standing esoteric tradition of a red Atlantean race. The very name Adam, the first created man, literally means red, indicating that he was himself a member of the red race. Of course, we cannot be sure for which traits modern humanity inherited from its Atlantean ancestors. Red skin color, great stature, and light colored eyes might all have been among these traits. The biblical watchers, or the sons of God, are described as extremely tall with bright eyes like burning lamps, and a body complexion as white as snow and as red as a rose. There is no evidence of the fact that the Atlanteans might have been highly I don't know how to say that word. It's very long. Dolichocephalic. That's Dolichocephalic, meaning that their skulls had a much more elongated shape than those of modern human. Those are the long skulls, cone heads. The practice of cranial deformation among many ancient elites may have arisen in imitation of the outward appearance of the gods. Finally, we are faced with the distinction possibly that the Atlantean lifespan was significantly longer than that of modern humans, and that the length of human life was somehow genetically capped at no more than 115 or 120 years, as suggested by recent genetics research. An echo of this may be found in Genesis, whereas God declares that his spirit shall not abide in man forever, for his flesh, his days shall be 120 years. This may help explain the marked decline in the lifespans attributed to the antediluvian and post-diluvian patriarchs in both Genesis and the Sumerian king list. The world of thousands of years ago was one in which different human races or species occupied different stages in the scales of physical and spiritual evolution. While it would be wrong to consider our own present humanity as the peak of human evolution, our species undoubtedly preserved the genetic memory of all the ones that preceded, including perhaps that of our Maker. The search for our Atlantean ancestors becomes therefore also a search for our divine origin, to unlock this potential in all and each one of us. This is what I'm reading. This is what I am getting. I am, and I have to tell you that ever since I started reading this, the connection, the ancestors, having the dreams, seeing the visions, seeing the connection, seeing and feeling. The world is shifting, the planet is shifting. We are going through major changes. We just have to go back. In order to save, to be saved, in order for you to be saved, you have to go back. There's no other way. You have to go back to who you truly are. You have to go back into the light. Matter is heavy. Matter is dark. Matter is not light. It's a very dark force. It's very dark. And whatever I read, whatever I present, because it's not all about the cards. It's about the knowledge. It's about the expanding of who we truly are. I want to say that today is a special day. February 17, February 18, I believe February 19. Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. That's where we're going to. That's where our new world. That is the fifth and higher dimension, consciousness level that we are at. I did, how you say it, did a research on the Tua de Dana. These people lived, these were powerful gods, goddesses, queens, kings. They were the folk of the goddess Danu, also known by earlier name Tuas, tribe of the gods. They are supernatural race. In Irish mythology, many of them are thought to be represent deities of pre-Christian Gaelic Ireland. The Daoithe are often depicted as kings, queens, druids, bards, warriors, heroes, healers, craftsmen who have supernatural powers. They dwell in the other world but interact with humans and the human world. They are associated with the city, prominent ancient burial mounds such as Bruna, which are entrance to the otherworld realms. Their traditional rivals are often Fomorians, who might represent destruction, power of nature, and whom Thoth defeat in the Battle of Mag. Prominent members of the Thula include the Great God, the Queen or Phantom Queen, the Healer, the Smith, one of the tribe. These gods lived here. Their souls are alive, their spirits are alive. They guard the heavens, and what is above so is below. Medieval texts talk about the Tuas were written by Christians. You know, a lot of this thing I don't believe. I only go at what my spiritual heart tells me. But I want to say thank you. I may come back with a message. I may come back and do a reading. I think I will come back and do a reading since I was talking about races and dark matter and our ancestors. I'm going to come back and do a reading, see what spirit wants the collective to know at this time. I love you. I'll be right back.